Hi everyone, this is Scott Dudley from Funnel Fella Radio, and today my special guest is Abbi Perets, who's based in Israel. She's a freelance copywriter who works with some of the world's biggest companies and has her own brand called Successful Freelance Mom that was created to help fellow mums launch a freelance writing career. Welcome to the show, Abbi. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
All right, excellent. Let's get stuck into it then. So if we just go back a little bit and start off with your background and how you first got into writing and marketing in general.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I came in with no experience and no real idea what I was doing, like so many people do. I have no college degree. I have no real professional experience. I was living in Israel as a newlywed. I had my first baby. Well, actually, before I had my first baby, I got a job working in a little boutique marketing agency in Tel Aviv, where my primary qualifications were that I spoke English and I knew how to use a computer. You have to understand, this was the dark ages. This was 1996, and the internet was a new thing and whatever.
Yeah.
So not everybody knew how to use a computer and knew what email was. So that I had those going for me. And they would bring me stuff to write about. And I would ask really, probing, intelligent questions like, what do you want me to say about it? And they would tell me okay, well, say, that it does this and it's really good because of this. And so I kind of learned how to do that. And then when I had my first baby, I was like, yeah, I don't want to go back and work in an office. So I'll just be a freelance writer. And I had no idea what that meant. Literally no clue what I was going to do, who was going to pay me, what was going to happen. What I knew was I could do it on my couch and wear pants without buttons and watch my baby. Those were my, qualifications there. So that's how I got started. And the rest was everything I learned along the way, reading back in the day when you couldn't just Google things because Google didn't exist. We had Alta Vista for a search engine. It was pretty exciting. Yes. Good times. And we moved back to the States when my daughter was 1, and I started using the public library system and just checking out every book I could find on writing and marketing and learning that way. And pitching clients, and they'd be like, yeah, can you write a press release? And I'd be like, sure, I can. And I'd drive over to the library and I'd be like, all right, how do I write a press release? Let's find a book about that. And that's my background. It's very impressive. You can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can remember back to those days, sort of like 1996, and I was just learning the internet myself. And yeah, things were quite different to today. And the millennials or the people in their early 20s wouldn't quite probably relate to that. But yeah, that was just when the internet was a new thing. So yeah, it was pretty cool at the time. Yeah.
You have no idea how easy you have it today, people. Yeah. No idea.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. So if we fast forward then to right now, so tell me a bit about your latest venture, Successful Freelance Mom, and how that helps mums to launch their freelance writing career.
Sure. So my own career, from my illustrious beginnings, I went on to have a total of 5 kids. And so I was always working from home and always balancing that, being a mom and caring for my kids. And I have a son who's developmentally disabled, and another son with some more minor special needs. So there was this constant pull between the two things. And around the time that my kids were all in full-time programs, we had moved back to Israel. I was ready to think about some bigger projects and maybe taking on more things in my life. My middle son, the one who's developmentally disabled, was diagnosed with cancer, which kind of put everything on hold for a while. So I didn't work at all for a couple of years. And when I came back to working, so that was 2013, and I didn't come back to working until 2016. And right when I first started back, I didn't have the patience for client work. And I was in this Facebook group for moms of kids with cancer. And these were women who, the United States, I don't know if you've heard about the healthcare situation in the US, but it's apparently very expensive and not working really well. So for me, living in Israel, where all of our healthcare was covered, and we didn't have financial worries about that, I was seeing all these women in America who were at risk of losing their homes because their kid unexpectedly had cancer. So I started kind of very informally teaching some women how they could do some freelancing on the side to get some money in the door and pay those very urgent bills. And I liked it. And it kind of gave some purpose to my life at a time when I was feeling really not great. My kid was better, but my whole life was upside down. I had no idea, what I was going to do when I grew up, and what was my meaning and purpose, and why did my kid live and other kids didn't. So it was like this whole crazy time in my life, and helping other people gave me that meaning and purpose back, and it helped me find my way back to myself.
Okay, and I guess sort of at the moment with COVID, there'd be even more demand for that sort of thing as well. Would that be right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This year, I've seen my students have really been able to, build thriving businesses in the middle of this pandemic, because, for me, I saw it with my own clients. That first couple of weeks in March and April, when things were changing so quickly, everyone I work with was like, we need to redo all of our messaging. Like, nothing on our website works right now. Nothing in our email sequences works right now. Our sales pages are completely like tone deaf. Let's fix all of that. And then my own students also saw that same thing. Like the students who came into my program in March and April were like, well, how are we going to make this work? This is going to be crazy. And I was like, just wait, just do what I tell you, and you're going to get the client, because people need so much help. And so many businesses are coming online for the very first time, and they need an enormous amount of content to get up and running. So it's been, working from home is a big thing, and writing is never going to be out of demand, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah. So is it more like a coaching sort of thing, or is it a course, or a bit of both, or?
It's a bit of both. I run a 12-week program. It's self-paced, but it's designed to be handled over 12 weeks because I work mostly with moms, and guess what? They're really busy people. Sometimes they have full-time jobs in addition to kids, and we're building things in like 20-minute blocks of time, because that's how long you have before somebody's like, "Mommy, where do we keep the ice?" And so really important questions. And so it's designed to be done over 12 weeks. We have a group coaching component to it. And it's really about seeing these women get out there, close that first client within a couple of weeks, make back what they invested in the course, and start just earning consistent income. It's really, I'm really proud of what we've built, and I'm amazingly proud of the students who come through the program and then just go out and build amazing businesses. So.
Excellent. That's really cool how you sort of help them to cover the cost of the course, so it sort of pays for itself. And I like that sort of concept. So that's great. So on top of that, are you still writing copy for clients, or are you just mainly focused on you are? So
I do. I'm very specific in what I do. I write sales pages and email sequences for established online course creators. I discovered in building my own course that I loved that piece. And I saw that everyone else who had an online course who wasn't a writer hated that piece and like really struggled. Like, I know I created this amazing course that can really help people, but I have no idea how to make that, like how to communicate that to people effectively. For me, it was like, it was a really easy fit. And because that's the only client work I focus on these days, that's all I do for clients, and I've gotten good at it. And I get to work with people who are out there changing the world and helping others. So it's exciting.
Cool. Yeah. And you've got like that nice focused, tight niche of people that you're targeting, instead of like a lot of other copywriters that sort of just write copy for anybody. So yeah, that's fantastic.
And that's what I teach my own students too. Like, the more narrow you can make your focus, the higher pricing you can charge. You're going to get really good at one thing instead of trying to be a little bit good at everything. You're going to be amazingly good at one thing. You're going to be able to book out your schedule in advance. You're going to be able to charge what you want to charge, and you're going to love your life. I refuse to do anything that, like, I'm going to be 45 in 2 days, and like, I'm too old to do things that aren't fun, is basically what it comes down to. So I only do things that are fun now.
Okay, well, I'm 47 in 6 days, so we've got a bit in common. Yeah. All right. So is it just yourself, or do you like hire assistants to help you with all of this? Because I imagine it sounds like you'd be pretty busy, like doing client work as well as working with your coaching clients as well.
Yeah. So this year I actually started working with a team. It's been very exciting. We are now, Team SFM is now 5 people, and we're onboarding a 6th in January. So that's pretty exciting. If you had told me a couple of years ago that this is where I would be now, I would not have believed it. And it's been kind of amazing to watch it all happen. So
yeah. Fantastic. All right, so most of the people listening to this, they're sort of marketers or funnel builders, or they own agencies. So let's go into a little bit of detail about your process to write high converting copy, and sort of as well, what's the difference between an average piece of copy and a winning piece in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes down to a couple of core things. When I teach writing email and sales pages, what I start off by saying is there are two rules in email. The first rule is don't lie. And the second rule is treat people well, treat people the way you would want to be treated. So don't lie means don't lie at all. Like, don't say something's on sale for 2 days if it's always on sale at that price. Don't say that a webinar is live if it's recorded. Don't lie at all. If it's something that you would be embarrassed if your mother opened that email and found out that you wrote it, don't write it. If you don't want to have to look your kids in the eye and say, I'm a sleazy, scammy marketer, then don't be that person. Like, it's to me, it seems really basic. It's apparently not basic to a lot of the world, but I think that's really number one. Don't lie, because the moment you lie, you will lose people's trust. And once it's lost, there's almost nothing you can do to get it back again. And then treat people well. Don't send an email that would annoy the crap out of you to get in your inbox. Don't waste people's time. Don't just don't is really my slogan. Like, just don't. So I think that it starts from that place of you have to genuinely care about people. Like I said, I don't do things that aren't fun. I don't work with clients who are selling something that I don't believe in. If I don't believe it's genuinely helping people, I don't care if you're making $1 million a month. Like, that's okay. I have no problem with money. I love money, but I won't help you sell something that I don't think is genuinely helping people. If you're selling a course that will actually change somebody's life, that will actually give them the benefits that you're promising, awesome. We can work together, and I'll work with you on that emotional connection. So we buy based on emotion. We don't do it with manipulation, but we do tap into what people are actually feeling and thinking and saying to themselves and sitting up late at night worrying about. I think that the best thing that you can do in sales, on sales pages and in email, is to get rid of the word I as much as possible. And instead focus on the word you. I think that's, the moment you take yourself out of it, you can tell exactly the same story. You can give the same lessons, you can give the same value, but you've immediately put the reader into the middle of the story and made them the hero of the story. And that's where they deserve to be. No one cares about you. I tell my students all the time, I care about you terribly. And if sushi's up here, then you're right underneath it. But no one else cares about you, and they want to hear about themselves, not about you. And I think that if you keep that in mind, along with not lying, then you're going to be in a pretty good place.
Yeah, agree. So for a sales page, for example, though, is there a formula or a structure, that IATA, attention, interest, desire, action? Is there anything like that you sort of follow, or not really?
I do a little bit, but not really. I don't want my sales pages to come out as formulaic. And the same with email. So I actually do, one of the products that I offer, I do a sales page training. I do email sequence workshops with templates. And I say that with, putting quotes around them in the air, because they're not really templates. It's more here's the kind of story that you want to tell at this point in the process. It's more of a framework really than a template, because you can't use something that was written in someone else's voice or for someone else's audience. It won't connect. It won't resonate with the right people. So it's really more about a framework. So yes, there's all the formulas that for writing a winning sales page, but one, it's not 1996 anymore. We don't want to come up on these sales pages that are dear friend, are you trying to, we don't want to come across that anymore. I think that if you keep that, the core of emotional connection, of genuinely caring about people and understanding deeply what is the problem that they have and how can you solve it for them. If you focus on, I'm literally on my second screen over here, I have a sales page up right now that I'm working on. And it's really right in my drafts, it's all about questions. It's what is she thinking when she sees this? One of the things I'm talking about now is, for anyone who's a parent, like if you've ever found yourself in that place where your kid has a fever in the morning and you're dosing them up and sending them to school and just like crossing your fingers that the nurse doesn't call because you've got a really busy day. Like nobody wants, so that's something that anyone who's a parent can immediately connect with that feeling. Like, I don't want to be that desperate, I don't want that to happen. So it's caring about those problems that your person has and how are you going to solve them?
Yeah. And what about the PS down the bottom? Do you think that's obsolete or you still use those?
I still use a PS, but I'm very I see a lot of what's called the power PS, where it's like, the moment you're ready, there are 3 ways I can help you. And there's like all these different links. To me, again, it comes back to, I don't want that in my inbox because it's overwhelming and I'm confused. And what link do you want me to click? So I like a PS that's actually like, if I drop down to the bottom and I'm scanning, like I want to get in one sentence, here's the information and here's one link that, if you're interested in this link will help you. And I think that you have to go into email recognizing that not every email is going to be right for every single person, and that's okay. So
yeah, it makes sense. All right, so without naming the actual client, tell us about one of your most successful copywriting promotions and why you believe that performed so well.
Sure. So one of the best email sequences I ever did has pushed through more than $1 million in sales from a single funnel. It's won a 2 Comma Club award from ClickFunnels.
Okay.
And it really did come down to having a client who deeply understood her audience and was able to talk about it in a great way.
Okay.
One of the things that often happens when you're working with clients, and for me, it was like about shifting my own ideal client. Like I began working with established course creators who already had success and could speak knowledgeably about the transformation that they provide. Because when you're working with somebody brand new in business who's like, well, I'm not quite sure who, like my ideal client is people with a pulse. No, like we're not going to work. It's not going to happen. So this was somebody who really deeply understood her own ideal client and how to speak about the transformation that she provides for them. So that meant that we were able to really dig in, like I said, on those pain points, to really get inside their heads. She gave me access to extensive interviews she had done with people. And so I had video and transcripts to work from, which was exceptionally helpful because I could see them. I could hear the specific language they were using. I could dig in. If I wanted access to a specific person afterwards, I could then go back and re-interview that person and dig in deeper on a point. So it really comes down to having someone, having a client who is going to give you access to that level of information. Because it's about making that really, truly personal connection. And it's an evergreen funnel. And it's done, over $1 million in sales. And we're actually going to tweak it in 2021. We're going to update it. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking because it's already doing really well. Like, why are we messing with it? But it's, the program has been updated. The course itself has been updated. We want the sequence to reflect everything that's been learned over the past 3 or 4 years. But we're going to go through that same process of really making sure that we're connecting deeply with what people want.
Excellent. Cool. All right. So just to change topic a little bit, what are your favorite online tools and platforms do you use to run your business?
Love my tech stack. Okay. I'm pretty basic. I host my courses on Teachable. Could not live without my Facebook group. I use Instagram, but my kids are like, you're doing it wrong. So that's fun. I use ThriveCart for my shopping cart because I love it. I love order bumps and upsells and just the smoothness of it. And I refuse to pay monthly fees with, for like ThriveCart is still right now a one-time fee, and its major competitors charge monthly fees that I feel are astronomical and not deserved.
Fair enough.
And what else? Right now I'm using ConvertKit for email, but I believe I'm going to be switching to ActiveCampaign in the next couple of weeks. So it has a couple of specific capabilities that I'm looking for as I build out my own more evergreen funnels. I want the ability to run people through sequences multiple times. which ConvertKit can't do, but ActiveCampaign can.
Okay.
And yeah, and like I said, I'm a huge fan of my Facebook group. I feel like it creates incredible connection for people.
Yep.
And Zoom, like the rest of the whole world, but we used Zoom before it was cool. So
Okay.
I don't use Slack. I know a lot of people love Slack. I'm old school. I love my Trello boards. Old school. I mean, that's got to be like what, 2015 or something. I have no idea when Trello.
Yeah, I still use Trello, and I can remember using it in about 2014 or something like that. So yeah, it must have been around for a while. Yeah.
Right. Like it works. And I know people say, well, you can't build a 7-figure business. I'm like, I think you can. So.
Well, you can keep it simple on there. So sometimes it's better to keep things simple rather than having 1,000 flashbang things, because then you've got to learn it all. So yeah, I tend to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
all right.
That's, I mean, it's, Google Docs and that kind of thing, but yeah, we keep it really simple wherever we can. So.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So what are some of the biggest and most common mistakes that you see copywriters making?
Oh, so many. The biggest mistake that I see people making is trying to speak to too many audiences at once. Like you'll get a lot of pages or emails or whatever that start with something like, whether you're a 6-figure business owner or brand new, and they'll try to come back with, well, but my thing works for both of them. I'm like, great, but call out what unites those people. What problem are you solving? What is the thing that the two of those people have in common? Because they don't want to be lumped together. So like a lot of times it's like, let's say my thing will help you because you feel like you're working too hard. Great, start there. When you feel like you're working too hard, blah, 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 like, don't lump your 6-figure earner in with the newbie, because they're going to feel like you can't possibly be speaking to me.
Yeah, embarrassing. Yeah.
Right. So there's that. And I see a lot of templates. I see a lot of people buying templates, and then they're surprised that they don't work, again, because they're written in someone else's voice and for someone else's audience. And it's like, did you really think that was going to work? Like I teach a lot of UK audiences, and I talk about write like you talk, it should sound like you, or your client. And so I have friends who I have clients who I write for, who say y'all a lot. Right. And when I talk to UK audiences, I'm like, none of you say y'all. So I don't want to see it in your emails. Even if you think it looks really cute when someone else does it, like it does not belong in your emails.
I think that's only an American thing, because we don't say that in Australia.
No, it's only parts of the States. It's the southern states.
Okay.
So it's, y'all is not something that everyone says, and it will look super weird if it's not something that you normally say to your audience. It will feel very jarring to them. So I see a lot of people using templates and then not understanding why they're not getting results. And I see a lot of I-centered copy rather than you-centered copy. And that feels to me sad. The other thing I see is copy that doesn't go deep enough. It's not making that emotional connection. It's playing too close to the surface. I tell my own students, when you're interviewing your clients and getting information from them, being a really good writer means not being afraid to keep saying, yeah, and then what? Or yeah, but why does that matter? And to just keep repeating that until they start giving you useful information, When we say why don't people buy your course? And they say, oh, because it costs too much. Wrong. Keep going. Give me something more than that. Money is not money is a great excuse, but it's not the real reason. Because if I told you, hey, you have a disease and I can cure it and it will cost you $10,000, you would find $10,000 and give it to me because I can cure your disease. So why you haven't told them yet how you're going to cure their disease. So. Yeah,
there was someone, I can't remember who it was, but they called that the so what test, where you just keep saying what until you get to the.
So what? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then also with the bit about the templates, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Ryan Dice and Digital Marketer, but they've got a specific email sequence. And I don't know, I just see so many times I read people's emails they send me and they've just copied and pasted basically this Digital Marketer sequence where they're talking about it's Christmas and I'm going to send you all this stuff. And I'm thinking,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. How many times have I read this? It's just, I'm sick of reading it. Why do people just copy and paste stuff?
And it's so, it's, again, it comes back to, would you want to get that in your box? Probably not. So why are you sending it out to other people? Treat them with I see that email is intimate because when email, you read email on your phone, right? And what else is on your phone? You got pictures of your kids, you got texts from your spouse, right? Like these are the things that you care about most in the world, and they're on your phone also. Let's be honest, most of us are checking our email in the bathroom, in bed, like it's an intimate relationship. So respect the intimacy of the relationship. I think it's a really important thing that people overlook. How,
a good point.
How close that really is to somebody's heart, and just don't take advantage of that relationship.
Yeah, agree. All right. So what's the biggest challenge you consistently have to face as a freelance writer?
I think for most freelance writers, it's about consistency with income. The way that I solved that for myself, and I'm not saying that this happened from day one. I mean, it took me like a good 15 years to figure this piece out, but figuring out what's a recurring revenue service. So even a couple of years ago, when I came back to freelance writing after my medical hiatus, I loved the whole email sequences and sales pages, but those again tend to be one-off projects, right? So when I looked at my business model, I was like, where's the recurring revenue coming from here? And that's when I started offering, I would offer to a client, once we had a successful sequence and sales page project and we worked well together and we saw that we could, do things well, then I would ask them, are you interested in having me take over the weekly email writing to your list? And I developed a really solid process for that. And that was the recurring revenue element in my business. So I think that as soon as you can come up with a service that you can offer on a recurring basis, you can create that income consistency, which is the greatest challenge in freelancing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because it's hard to get new customers or clients. And if you can just get the same person paying you each month, then obviously that's a lot easier. And you're doing the same thing over and over. So it's easier to deliver the work as well. So that's an excellent tip.
Exactly it. Yeah.
I've never actually heard a copywriter mention that, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you think about it. Yeah.
Right. It's those things that once you look at it a little differently, you're like, oh yeah, why am I not doing that?
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So here's an interesting one. What are you curious about or researching right now regarding copywriting or digital marketing, sort of with an eye to the future?
Yeah, I'm definitely not so into like, what's the latest hot thing? I'm much more about what's going to work over the long term. I do love in the sense of, for course creators, I think that there's a lot of emphasis right now. Like a lot of people are selling, like the idea of, hey, you can just like create a course once, never touch it again, never interact with your students and make money on autopilot. And I don't think that that's going to work in the long term. So I'm seeing the most successful course creators I'm seeing are building in these components where there are touch points with students, where it's really, so, I mean, if I were going to say like, what am I researching? I'm researching creating an amazing customer experience. And I have always done that on both sides of my business, for my clients and for my students. I think that that's what speaks to us the most is the experience that we have, if, and one bad experience can destroy the entire relationship. Like I don't talk about the many times that Amazon has helped me. I'm like, remember that one time when Amazon wouldn't refund me and that package was made? Like, those are the things we remember. Right. So I'm really like, I'm obsessive about creating an amazing customer experience.
Okay, and then by the sound of it, you'll be using Active Campaign to set a lot of that up. Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, who are your marketing idols or the biggest influences on your career?
See, now that's an interesting one. There are a lot of bad marketers out there, let's say. Like there are a lot of people I don't trust. There are a lot of people who haven't earned my trust, or like when I thought they might get my trust, they've then destroyed it by sending like one of those, oh, we accidentally broke the internet emails. Or like you say, like, oh, it's Christmas and I'm doing like, I don't like the moment you copied and pasted an email to me, I'm going to be unsubscribing. Like, I don't want to be on your list anymore. It's really hard for me to, I also have a problem with putting anyone on a pedestal like that. I mean, I think there are a lot of people that you can learn from, and I'm constantly looking for good people to learn from, but I tend to go with names that are not nearly like, I'm not into like, I don't want to call out anybody, but I'm not into the big, loud people who are like, hey, look at me, I'm an amazing top marketer. I'm much more into small people who are doing one thing really, really well and seeing how they're doing it. I mean, like literally I can throw out names, but like nobody will recognize these names because they're like little obscure people, who are doing like one thing well, and are just consistent and I'm going to say honorable in their messaging. So.
Okay. Interesting. All right, cool. Well, just to wrap up then, where can people go to find out more about your services and or your products?
Sure. I am at successfulfreelancemom.com. And I am on Instagram, although, like I said, my kids say I do it wrong, as Abbi Perets. And I would love to connect with anybody there. So yeah, there you go.
Cool. And then for the Australian audience, that's mum is M-O-M.
Correct.
Over here,
it's not mom.
we don't spell it that way. So yeah, just thought I'd throw that in as well because I noticed that. So
Thank you.
Cool. All right then. Excellent. Thanks for being on the show, Abbi. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. See you later.